Just like to welcome everybody to another one of Dr. Mark's virtual lunchtime chats. Today, I am really lucky to have here James. James, the Chief Customer Officer at Cox Automotive. And I've got a couple of questions to pose to James to get his thoughts on what's happened and also on the way forward. I thought it'd be a really great place to start to get a sense from you, James, in terms of how have you been working and supporting the Cox customer family.
Okay, well, hi, Mark. So, or should I say Dr. Mark? It sounds like it's got a new ring to that, doesn't it? Dr. Mark Surgery. What we've been doing at Cox Automotive, I suppose go back probably 50 odd days, 60 odd days as it is now to when we first had the announcements. And even prior to the official lockdown announcements, we were starting to think about what that meant to our business. Obviously, we're the largest part of our organisation being physical auctions, which means that you've got lots of people wandering around auction halls. We sort of preempted what was coming and we shut our business and our doors down pretty quickly. What that meant was that from a customer's perspective, some customers completely understood the approach we were taking. Some were a little bit, I suppose, dubious of the approach we were taking, thinking, well, we're going too soon, why are you doing this? But through the whole of this, I suppose we've managed it in three phases. The first phase was in effect about crisis management. So we thought about what impact is this going to have on our customers. We're lucky we've got quite a few digital businesses in our portfolio. So it was really about that physical auction business was where we knew we were going to get our biggest challenges.
Yeah.
So we started contacting our customers really quickly to tell them what we were doing. We have some really strong values in our organisation, and that is about always doing the right thing. And absolutely the right thing was to shut down those businesses as quickly as possible. But at the same time, making sure we were staying close to our customers and protecting their businesses as best we could. So in the first instances, a lot of the activity we were undertaking for those first few weeks was all about supporting our customers, especially probably the biggest thing was about cash flow. We sat on an awful lot of vehicles and value for them. Some of those vehicles we'd already sold and they're waiting to be collected by customers. Some of them hadn't yet gone through sales. So we spent probably the first couple of weeks just really understanding how we could support our customers from a cash flow perspective. And I'm really proud to say that, again, doing the right thing, we made lots of decisions about how we release some of that equity and money to our customers, perhaps even though if we hadn't received that money in from the buyers yet, just to ensure that we were supporting our customers at that difficult time of cash flow.
Great. And James, given that crisis, what have you picked up from as yourself as a leader, and also working with the other leaders and board within Cox? How has that manifested itself?
Now that has probably been one of the biggest challenges, but also probably one of the most enjoyable parts of the last 50 days. So we reacted really quickly from a board perspective, and we set up daily board calls. In fact, we started having them just every morning, 9 o'clock. They tended to go on at the very beginning of the crisis, probably for half a day, where we're talking about various parts of our organisation. And obviously, most of the conversation we're having about our people and protecting our people in this challenging times. So we started off by having one call a day. That progressed to two. We'd have one in the morning and one in the evening. And we still have been doing that right through. We still have them today, right up to now. We have 9 o'clock calls probably for about 45 minutes now. We've got into a bit of a rhythm with those, as you would expect over 50 days. And then in the afternoons, again at 4:30, just to follow up on it. They were, I suppose, not challenging, but just unusual to be doing that with my board members. I mean, most of the time, I'd probably see them once a month, maybe a couple of times a month for board meetings. Apart from that, the odd phone call. So actually getting to see, well, initially you start off chatting, having conversations like we are today. Then slowly but surely people get more comfortable opening up their video and turning their videos on. So that was a bit challenging to begin with, but now what I've found is coming out the back of this is that we've built up such a strong relationship across our board now. I mean, the whole world we get into now of being, I think authentic is probably a word I'd use a lot. Not being afraid that the kids may wander in every now and then behind you and start asking you some questions about science exams they're having on having to feel that you've got to be this person that perhaps you aren't always in a business environment. So authenticity has really come across, and I suppose a sense of fun. You could go absolutely loopy sat in front of a computer screen for X amount of hours a day. So you've got to try and bring a fun element into it in what are some challenging and serious circumstances, obviously. So I think the one thing that's really come apparent to us is the strength we've now got as a board, the trust we've got in each other as well, which has been hugely important, but just getting to know each other a lot better. I mean, I can now tell you about how many kids all the board members have got, the names of their children. I've seen their dogs many times now in videos. So, and that's brilliant. You know, that's one thing I look at and say, you know, there's always a silver lining, and there's absolutely, that is one of the silver linings we've had.
Brilliant. That's really great to hear, actually. And coming out of this now, because we are sort of focusing heavily on the next stage, James, in terms of business recovery, what are your big outtakes as we start to move into this phase?
So from our perspective, I mean, as with a lot of organisations, and I talked about the 3 phases earlier. The first one, crisis management, and then starting to look at actually how do we now start looking to operate in what is the new world right now. And from our perspective, you know, we've been traditionally a physical business in our auction world for a long time, you know, 100+ years, and if we think about that model, that's a very old model. Lots of vehicle movements involved, lots of people wandering around, kicking tires, as we hear a lot in our industry. And now we've had to start thinking about how we evolve that and still operate in a digital world. We were already on a journey from a digital perspective. We had a very clear strategy and still have a very clear strategy about how we develop our business from a digital perspective. That really has only enhanced that and is starting to make us move quicker. So a lot of the things we're looking at now are about how do we just, I suppose, speed up that strategy we already had. And to be honest, this has given us some capacity to be able to do some of those things with certain parts of our business being shut, meant we can focus in the other areas we've needed to.
Yeah.
And I suppose the last point is then about that reimagination. So we are, a lot of the conversations I have with my team specifically and from a sales perspective is starting to say, you know what, don't be afraid to think about things differently. You're not going to break a business right now if something goes wrong. In fact, this should be a great opportunity for us to try and test things and do things differently. And actually, you know, from our customers' perspective, a lot of the conversations we're having right now and the feedback we're getting is being really positive about trying to think and take a different approach. So I suppose if I'm looking at what I think the future is going to look like for us, I can't see the market changing dramatically. I know there's lots of conversations right now about, is the new car market going to come back? Are people going to be buying more used cars? What are the values of the cars? We have no idea. You've just got to remain flexible and fluid in your approach to those. But the things we can do is starting to really look at those things that perhaps we've done in the past and question why we've done them like that. And actually, does that really support and help our customers, our people? And let's do things differently. So it's given us some really good opportunities.
Brilliant. So I'd just like to thank James for joining me on a virtual lunchtime chat. I think what James is really demonstrated is a number of real standouts in terms of how you go about developing really good long-term trust, not only within your customer base by demonstrating those values, that sort of that communication, that intent to do the right thing, but also more importantly here is trust within the leadership team, the sharing of what we call war stories will stand in great stead. I really like that use of authenticity and fun, which will certainly shine through as you come out of this into recovery. And more importantly is that piece around building those strong trust-based relationships that obviously resonate with the values of you as an organization, and being open to the digital opportunity and new ways of working. And I'm sure, as we come out of this, some customers will be able to embrace and work with you on that, and some might struggle and need you to hold their hand, actually, James.
It's an interesting point, and I battle with myself with this one sometimes, and from a perspective of, we have really strong values in our organization, from the Cox Automotive, from the Cox Enterprises business in the US, 120-year-old business. It's been built on some really strong principles and values, and they've stood the test of time. We have our main single purpose is about empowering people today to build a better future for people tomorrow.
Yeah,
and that's been true from day one. And part of that has got to be about, we always consider ourselves to do the right thing always, and that's prioritizing health over wealth, as we've said on many occasions during this challenging time. And I sit there sometimes and I think, we're doing all of these great things, and we do have some real internal battles in our organization about making some of those decisions, because as a business, there is still that mentality that says you're there and you need to make profit, and businesses have to operate. But there is that whole world that says, but you've got to be doing the right thing while you do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can cause conflict in organizations. But the great thing is, we come out the back and we always feel confident that we make those right decisions. A lot of our social media recently, I know you've been reading those, Mark, and your colleagues, always talk about doing the right thing for our people and our customers and our environment and the world around us. And we've stayed true to those values. And we've had some fantastic feedback from our customers and outside of our market, to be honest, admiring us for that and saying, great that you're doing that. Yep. And in this time, you really see the real good out of people and organizations, and you can see the opposite side of that as well. Yeah. I'm pleased to say we've been on the good side of that. And you would hope that coming out of this, to your point, that organizations and our customers see that, and it builds those trust levels even stronger than they are today. I do still have that question in the back of my mind that says, will you come out of this and people resort back to the old normal? Everyone says that, no, it's going to be the new normal and things will be different. But I think there will still be, when the pressures come from the people above and the large organizations and the banks about cash, there will still be a natural urge to resort back to what was the old normal. I hope that isn't the case, and we will carry on doing what we're doing and building the trust and continue to doing the right thing. And anyway, it's served us well for the last 120 years. I'm sure we'll continue doing that.
Well, if it's any consolation, James, if you think about you've got to make a decision to go to a company that you trust, that demonstrates the right values and the right principles, and you trust what they're selling and how they're selling it, versus someone you don't, or you've got a slight niggly doubt about, I know where I'd go.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's really kind of you to give up your virtual lunchtime. I know that you're a very, very busy man, and I look forward to chatting with you again soon. Thank you.
Very welcome. Pleasure. Thank you.